We live? Oh, snap.
We're
It's
live.
live. Whoa.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi guys. If you're wondering where's Ilyas, he is making his way home. So he'll be slightly late, like probably around 10 to 15 minutes from now. And once he's in the broadcast studio, we'll pull him in. So I'll host it for the time being. But before we begin, yeah, since we have some time, let's get to know a bit on who is Ruisi. Okay, like maybe what's her name? Did she change her name when she become a Muslim, or her age as well, and where she's from, and what was her previous belief before she became a Muslim? Before we going in depth into her journey. Wow, that's a nice parrot. That's a cute parrot. Is it
Thanks.
have a name for that parrot?
Well, its name is Duolingo, like the learning app for languages.
Oh, Duolingo.
Yeah.
Wow, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, well, I don't know. Wait, before I answer, I have a question. When you
Yep.
become Muslim, do you have to change your name?
No, not necessary. But just that I'm just curious if you do have a Muslim name or you just keep your old name.
I didn't know you were supposed to change your name. I realized that. I'm like, oh my God, there's so many like Asian people with Muslim names. Like, are they born with Muslim names or do they choose it? But I guess it's like something that you could able to choose. So I find that's really interesting. But like, um, I guess I'll keep my like Chinese name. It's just like Liu
Mhm.
Ruisi. So like in Chinese, like last name comes first, and then it's like your first name. So Liu Ruisi. Yeah, that's
Oh,
like my
Liu
name.
is
Yeah.
okay. So it's
Mhm.
three alphabets, like three letters, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So like mine is Xie Jun Hao,
Are
which
you
is
Cantonese?
I'm actually Cake Hakka.
Oh.
Are you familiar with that dialect?
No, I'm not. I just heard there's like Hakka restaurants. I didn't know there was like a.
Yeah, Hakka Yong Tau Fu. Yeah, good at making Yong Tau Fu.
Yeah. Wow, that's
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah. And you yourself, what's your dialect?
It's just basic. I'm the most basic Chinese person ever. Like just like northeastern Chinese dialect. Um, kind of like I don't know how to describe it. For example, when they say the word like at the end, like
Okay.
like um
去哪儿?
去哪儿
Er.
出去玩儿
Sure. Yeah.
出去玩儿 that type of accent. That's what I kind of grew up with because that's what my parents kind of spoke. Yeah,
Oh.
like before reverting to Islam, I was just kind of chilling. Like, like honestly, I didn't know where I was going with my life. I mean, I was just in university, everything was okay, and then COVID hit, and then I'm like, I had more time to just think for myself and honestly kind of like find like a deeper meaning with like connection with myself because at first I was like really uncomfortable being alone, but also COVID made me able to realize that it's possible to be, alone if you have like somewhat of like a feeling that you're not alone. So that's the thing about
Mhm.
like us Muslims. Like we never really feel alone, even when we're alone. So that's like a beauty of it.
Oh, yes. We got Elias in now. He's actually quite on time. Like, in just 5 minutes past 10 o'clock.
Yeah, hi everyone.
Yeah. So yeah, Risa is just giving a background of where she's from. Okay, maybe you can tell us, like, in China, which part of China were you born in?
Do you know like Liaoning, Fuxin?
Liaoning, Fuxin. No, have not. I don't know. Is it near Beijing or something?
Yeah, it's pretty near. It's like around. It's like north China. So yeah, like northeastern China. So near Beijing and like yeah.
I've only been to Changsha, Hunan. It's within the province of Hunan, right? And I also been to Shanghai and Beijing. That's all. Yeah,
Where
that's
is
all I've
Hunan?
been. Hunan. No, I was just one of those days when after poly, me and my friend Jonathan, we traveled from Hong Kong, took a train down to meet our friend who is living in Hunan. He's from Hunan, so we lived in his house for 3 weeks.
Ooh.
We did travel as well along the way. So he's very hospitable. His family is very nice. They give you like good food and everything. Yeah. But in my first few days in China got me having a lot of diarrhea. So It's just
Really?
getting used to the quality of food there. They are very good.
Yeah, I heard it's also because of the water. Because if you go anywhere with a different water system, your stomach might not be able to handle the water or something like that. That could be another reason.
Okay. And you moved to Canada at what age?
Oh, like when I was really young, like basically I was just raised in Canada, when I was 3 years old, basically.
Wow. And you went to Ontario before you go to Toronto?
No. I like before. Okay, when I first moved to Canada, I was 3 years old, and I lived in an apartment in Montreal. So
Montreal.
actually, my parents were super confused. They found like the places to live was the cheapest in Montreal and Quebec, so they just went to Quebec instead. Because like that's like the most affordable place. And then when they went there, they were so confused because like they come off and everyone's speaking like in a different language. My dad had to Google like why is everyone here speaking Russian or something like that, and he realized it's French. And he didn't know that Canada was bilingual. There's two languages, English and French, because they thought Canada was just English. And in China, they learned a little bit of English, like enough to get by, but they know like zero French, like absolutely none. So like that's how they were like kind of like stuck there, like what do we do now? And then they had to like learn French from scratch.
So
Well,
you
my
have to
dad did,
learn French
and
from
yeah.
scratch. Do you not speak French? You not speak French?
Yeah, I actually learned French before I learned English. So at some point in life, I was like francophone, but then I lost it. Like now my French is really bad. Like I can't,
Simple ones you can. I need to take a basic French for my course once. That's conversational ones.
Mhm.
Like comment tu t'appelles? Like je parle
Yeah.
français, je parle anglais. That's all. So, comment ça va? That's all I briefly know. Yeah, but so in the at what? Okay, so now how old are you? Are you okay with saying your age?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I'm 20, but I feel like I'm 50. Like I'm dying in quarantine. Like I haven't
Wow.
worked out since like 10 years ago. I swear my bones are like decaying. Like I need to go outside, but like I'm too lazy. I'm just kidding. I'm 20. But yeah.
And then as in okay, so you're about 20. Are you schooling now? Are you working or doing part-time or?
Oh yeah, I'm currently I just finished exams. Alhamdulillah, like exams are finally done, I mean, yeah, like I'm in film studies and I just finished second year, so in the fall I will be going to my third year of like film studies. So I'll be making more YouTube videos.
Oh, by the way, Elias, you see the parrot beside her? You know what's its name?
What's the parrot's name?
It's is it
Duolingo.
called Duology? Oh,
No,
sorry.
no, Duolingo. Like it's an app.
Duolingo.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
oh,
the
I use the
parrot's
app
name.
also. I use the app also
Really? For what
Duolingo.
language?
to learn Bahasa Indonesia.
Ooh, that's pretty helpful.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, in you're born somewhere near Beijing. Okay, I can't remember the name of your province. I'm sorry.
It's okay, no problem.
And you moved to Canada at the age of 3 to Montreal, and now you're in Toronto studying film studies at the age of 20. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, got it. All right. Okay, so how did Islam come into your life? Like, okay, share with us, the journey.
Okay, so before going to Islam, I guess I was a pretty like overall unruly teenager. I think I had a lot of issues just like dealing with like internalized like I don't know. The thing is if you internalize too many things all at once, you kind of have a lot of like I guess like things you won't be okay with, but you don't really know why. Like for example, when I lived in Montreal and when I lived in Quebec, there was a lot of like white people and they were like really racist and stuff. Well, they weren't outwardly racist, but they would kind of exclude me when I was a kid. So I never felt like I belonged anywhere, right? And even in Ottawa, it was hard for me to make friends and stuff. So I was kind of like the loner or like the weirdo. So like in that case, I always felt kind of like isolated from people, and I tried so hard for like to make people like me. I tried really hard to keep my friends around, and like to the point where I knew it wasn't right. Like when I was being treated unfairly, when I would not be invited to the same things as like they were going to and stuff, I knew they see me as like less than they were. But like overall in my entire life, I always try to people please like everyone I meet. And also at the same time, I think in my like younger years, I developed some type of like, I don't know, teenage like anxiety and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it just it's like an immigrant thing, because if you live in a country where you're the only one that looks as you are, you kind of feel alienated, even if it's not just about looks, it's also about like behaviors. Like everyone here in Canada, everyone talks about hockey. Like I don't play hockey. I'm not like a, I'm not a white boy, so I can't play hockey and stuff like that. And like, I don't know, there's just a lot of like isolating things that made me think like, oh, like, I don't really have many friends and whatever. But eventually I kind of got over it after like 16, 17, 18. I started like developing more of my sense of self and being able to kind of explore what I actually wanted to do. And yeah, like I met a lot of like people that I kind of like tried everything. I'm kind of like the type of person that tries everything once, even if it's like a really bad thing, like, super, super like bad. I'm like, okay, but like, what is it like? I really want to step in their shoes. I want to walk them out in someone's shoes to kind of figure out if it's something I want to go forward with. So when I was like a teenager and stuff, I was like pretty troubled and stuff like that. I didn't get suspended or anything, but like, I would just kind of like skip class all the time, like smoke weed with my friends, like, like on the school field. Sorry, this is like super haram and stuff. I'm not revealing this, so like, people watching, like, don't go out and smoke weed. Because now I'm trying to say I don't even like it anyways. It smells bad. But like, what I'm trying to say is like, I was kind of like looking for myself because I didn't know what to do with my life. I was just kind of like in it to like have fun, have a good time. But like I always felt like, kind of like empty without my friends. Like if I was alone for too long, or if like there was a day I didn't really, wasn't able to talk to anyone, I feel kind of like left out, kind of like FOMO, fear of missing out. I'm just like, what's happening? Like, what are you guys doing tonight? Like, is there parties going on? Like, I wanna be a part of it. I don't want to be left behind. Like, please don't leave me. Like, and it's this kind of like complex, like kind of like made me kind of like seek these kind of experiences more, even though I didn't really want to. Like I found myself like hanging out with people who didn't necessarily respect me. Like I remember I was hanging out, like, I don't even know, like one person, I went over to his house and something, and then he had a dog, and then I'm like, oh, what's your dog's name? And he's like, oh, it's called Dinner. And I'm like, dinner? Like, what's that mean? But then I realized it's a racist joke because, like, Chinese people eat dogs, like, that racist stereotype.
Oh.
So he literally just his dog's name was not Dinner, but he called his dog Dinner because it was like a racist remark, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was just that type of people that was like around me, but not all of them. There was like a lot of good ones too, but also I was really dependent on other people. And then after grade 12, when I like left Ottawa and then went to Toronto, which is like about 5-hour drive away, which kind of makes like a big difference because even though Ottawa is the capital of Canada, it's still kind of boring. Like you don't do anything there. Like the most you do is just walk around, look at the skating canal, the canal rink, or like look at Justin Trudeau. Just kidding, we don't actually see the prime minister going around, but you just walk around, do nothing. And when I went to Toronto, it's like big city, it kind of felt like Tokyo or like LA or something. I'm like, oh my God, it's a concrete jungle. And I'm looking outside and so much like new things to do. And, I talked to so many different people. I like, try to talk to everyone and stuff like that. And like, like if you like explored like, okay, in order to be old and wise, you must first be young and stupid. So yeah, so you just have to kind of like talk to people, see different kind. Sorry, my bird is like killing my hijab here. It's like ripping my hijab. So awkward, but yeah. And over time, then like I met this one guy, and then he was like Muslim, but he wasn't too serious about it. Like we still like drank together and stuff like that. We were just like, like we were like he was Muslim or whatever. Like he was Muslim. Like once I gave him like some earring and it had like some like symbol on it. I think it was like some like devil horns or something. I don't even know. It's like clippable earrings, just like and then he didn't wear it. He's like, no, it's against my religion or something. I'm like, but it's just like a design. Like, what's the problem here? But like I actually did not understand it anything, but like, now I understand. But like back then I didn't really understand. Like, what's the big deal and stuff like that. And I knew he didn't eat pork. I'm like, okay, like because once I made him like pizza pockets from like the microwave, and then he's like, oh, I can't eat that. There's like pork in it. Pizza pockets are kind of like these microwavable things that you can just put in the microwave, and it kind of just like, you can eat it in 5 minutes. And then he's like, I can't eat it. And I'm like, why don't you just like take the ham out? Like, it's no big deal. Like, I didn't know anything about Islam at the time, right?
Yeah.
And slowly, as I grew closer to him, like, I was actually also looking for different ways to be spiritual. Back then, and even in Ottawa, me and my friends would be like, oh my God, let's go see like a Buddhist temple. Let's go like pray. Like, let's go like do all that kind of stuff. It seems so like eye-opening and stuff like that. And, I don't know, like after finding Islam, I realized like I don't really need to look for anything anywhere else, because Islam is basically what I've been needing all this time. And so he taught me how to pray. He's like, okay, you can try praying and stuff like that. And I'm like, I guess I could, because I've tried like different things. I've been looking at Taoism, been looking at like other different like Eastern religions that are more like known to Chinese people. Like, why not try something different, And then I tried praying, and the first time I prayed, it just feels like it's kind of like feels like a head rush. I can't tell it's because I stood up too fast after sujood, like whoa, like stood too fast, or if it's actually because I'm connected to Allah. I think it's maybe a little bit of both. But like from then on, I kind of kept doing it, and then researched a lot more about it. And even though there was a lot of moments where like, how does that make sense though? Like literally, like the Quran says, fear Allah. Like, why should I fear someone? If I love something, why should I fear them? And then he had to explain, well, it's not like a fear where you're like scared of an abuser, but it's more like fear out of like respect and out of like, you ever just stand in front of like, I don't know, a cliff, and you look at the ocean, or you look at like the trees and the mountains, and you're scared to fall off, but at the same time you're so awed by the beauty of this cliff and everything, the nature, the trees, the colors, and then you're like, you fear, but you also love it. You also know the majesty of it, and that's kind of like what it kind of is. And that's just like a beginner intro, like how I found it.
Cool. Let me just help summarize a bit so that if some people are not fast enough to catch her. Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, okay? You started school and you like kind of feel a bit left out because of racism a bit, and you feel like the oddball in school, in class and everything. And afterwards, you met a friend, right? Who's a Muslim, but he's not like really practicing 100%, I would say. Like he still went drinking with you, but afterwards you also explore different religions with him along the way, about Buddhism and all that. Finally, when it comes to Islam, he said, why don't you try praying? And that's when you try to do your sujood. And after doing a sujood, you felt a rush over your head, and something different happened since then. And ever since then, you always probably look forward to doing your sujoods, right?
Yeah, that's my favorite part of praying, is when I put my head down, because it's kind of like a yoga pose. The cat position in yoga, where your head is like down, and it feels like a nice like, because like the way prayer works is in harmony with your body, right? I don't know, like once like I was having like cramps and stuff, and after I go into sujood, and it doesn't hurt anymore after. Maybe it's something along with like the way that your intestines are placed when you go into sujood, but also like the way that like Allah has fashioned us and has instructed us to do that is pretty powerful, I believe.
By the way, guys, if you want to check out Reese's YouTube channel, hers is called Reesiology, as her name is suggested there on the name tag. Yeah, you can go check out her YouTube videos as well. Back to her story. Yeah. In the past, even for the kings, the emperors, right, in China, people have to submit to him in that manner, where they put their head down. They do that, and they go down.
Yeah,
Because people used to think that they make the king like a god. And where did they get the idea of sujud? If you wonder, like, wow. So probably Islam came into the culture. They realized that, oh, that's how you worship God, and the best form of worship is to completely put your head down, as it is total submission to the Creator. That's how our body does total submission. They could kowtow, right?
yeah.
That's the same way we kowtow, right?
Yeah.
And that's why we are not supposed to be bowing to anything else except God. I
Oh,
think that's
really?
my baby.
Wait. What about in like other? I thought like Asian cultures, they bow to each other as a sign of respect. Is that uh like separate from like Islam? I'm not sorry. I'm just curious, because like.
Sorry, the form of respect. Oh, no. It's just that it's mentioned that we should not be, giving worship to anyone else
That's facts.
except God, except Allah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And people worship by bowing their heads, or bowing their whole body, like in a 90-degree fashion. Yeah.
Yeah. Talking about bowing, right? Just a fun fact. Do you know that when you go to temples, right? Generally the front door, there is a big like a ledge at the front door. then you have to cross your leg over. The reason why they put that ledge over there, I heard, right, is because when you walk over that ledge, you have to put your leg up high, and then when you cross it, you will bow slightly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
everyone
in China,
will bow when they enter the mosque.
you enter
Not mosque, the temple.
the temple. Yeah. They have a ledge so that you have to look down so that you would basically not trip and fall. So when the action of looking down is a form of bowing. But and based on the comments I'm looking at, yeah, it's true. Different scholars have varying opinions on whether you can bow to anyone or not. And some say, level of bowing, maybe you can bow like that, but you just cannot bow with your knees, or yeah. So as long as, most importantly, your intention in your heart, yeah,
For sure, yeah.
but worship can come in many form. Even people can chase after money like it's God. They don't bow to it. They're worshiping it in that sense. Yeah. So anyway, continue on. So what attracted you to Islam? Like, what's so beautiful besides the sujud? What have you learned about Islam so far? Like that got you keeping to this faith, this religion. Okay, I remember in your videos you also mentioned about a stone that you used to worship.
Oh my god, I didn't actually worship a stone. It's just like a thing where I did to channel my thoughts to when I was a kid. I knew the stone was not God. I know the stone itself was not Allah, but it was like I was talking to Allah through the stone, which is also kind of like incorrect, but also is kind of like how I made sense of the world. Do you know when you kind of like cup your hands together, you make dua, right? You're not worshiping your hand, right? You're just like talking to Allah, even though you have your hands like that. You're talking to God, even though you have your hands like that. That is just a position in which you make supplication to Allah. So when I was a kid, I don't know, but none of my parents were religious. Like we were not Christian, we were not nothing. But still, I would still pray. It's like I had this bar of soap. It wasn't like a stone, or it's actually kind of like a bar of soap that's like metallic. It's supposed to like what you use to wash like the metallic scent off your hands after like cutting fish or something. My parents got it from, like, my grandma got it from some random like Asian supermarket in China or whatever. Some bar of soap that's metallic. And then, like, I don't know, I put stickers on it. Again, I put like a heart sticker for love. I put like, I don't know, it's like another sticker for friendship and a bunch of stickers. And I'm like, when I want something, I would kind of just like take the rock and just like hold on the sticker and then just like wish for it. And as if I'm kind of like pressing a button and like asking God, like, this is like what I want, But it's not like I was worshiping the stone itself. Like, look at this bar of soap. Like, I know the bar of soap is God. Like, I was not doing that.
Oh, but it was like a channel. Like basically, you speak to it, hoping that it reaches God.
Yeah, kind of like that. It's kind of like, when Musa was talking to the fire and the story of how he defeated the Pharaoh, right? Like he was instructed by Allah through a fire, even though he knew the fire was not Allah itself. He was kind of like given that message through different forms, right? And like I'm not saying like I got a message from Allah or anything, but I'm saying like that's how I would like kind of like talk to God.
I see. So when you were 3 years old, living in Canada, somewhere in between, did you have like a faith? Do you believe in anything?
No, I never had a faith before that because, the story with faith is like my parents, I know it actually surprises me every time I meet like a Chinese person that is religious. I'm like, what? Like, your parents allowed you to do that? Like, no, like my mom was so terrified of religion. Every time someone mentions something about God, like she pulls them out instantly because it's so scary for her, because she grew up in like a village where the only form of religion was like manipulation of like spirits and stuff like that. So there was like a story where my mom told me in her village, like there was like apparently this fox that was haunted and something, and then there was like one person who was able to talk to spirits, and they said, okay, if you're really a spirit inside this fox, make this egg stand on the small side. So they had an egg on its like flat side, right? Make the egg stand on a small side, and apparently the egg went on a small side, and that was like, she's saying all these things are like really weird, and she doesn't want anything to do with it. She's still scared of like going down to the basement of our house because she doesn't want to do anything with like that kind of like like magic, like stuff like that. Like she thinks it's just like pokey stuff, and just if it's real, better to stay away from that kind of stuff, which can be kind of like understandable from the situation that where she was born. So like even when I was younger, there was once where my parents like enrolled me into a summer camp with this like random like Asian lady and like two other kids or something, and we would just go to the lady's like apartment, and then there was also a swimming pool in the apartment. So sometimes we would swim there in the summer with our little floaties, and then afterwards she would teach us like certain like lessons. I think the religion was Falun Gong, but I didn't know at the time, right? It was not of anything that's like really outwardly religion to me, and honestly just felt like philosophy. One of the things she taught was like, oh, do you know what Zhen Shan Ren means? So there's like these three characters means Zhen Shan Ren, which means Zhen means like truthful, Shan means kindness, like Shan Liang Shan, right? And Ren like Ren, like withstanding like hardship basically. So there's like truthful, Jin, Shan, like kindness, and Ren, like withstanding. These are some of the things that she told me or something. My mom found out that she was teaching like this kind of like beliefs and stuff, and immediately she pulled me out because she's like, I can't like have like you be brainwashed by this kind of like cult and stuff like that, because she thinks everything is just kind of like a dangerous cult, and that makes sense. But on the other hand, for my dad, his own father, my dad's dad, did some like spiritual stuff. Like he had kind of like a club going on, like my grandpa. Like, sometimes he would invite his friends over to his house in China, and then they would like practice like, Tai Chi and that kind of like air movement, like Qi and stuff like that, like, flowing of air and breathing, like, like yoga and stuff like that. And that type of spirituality, kind of like Buddhism, somewhat like linked to Buddhism, and it was more like a wellness, like holistic practice, I believe, rather than belief of like an almighty. That's what I honestly believe. Like it really depends from like religion to religion, but honestly, I feel like for my dad's family, the way that they practice Buddhism, I'm not saying this is for every like Buddhist person in the world, but for them, they didn't actually like take Buddhism to the point where they went to temples like every Sunday or something like that. It's not like something they would do regularly, but rather they just like held the philosophy in their hearts and they just kind of like practice that, if that makes sense. And like about like kindness and forgiveness and stuff like that. So that was kind of like the religion that I've seen that like my dad like kind of like do. And occasionally he had like some prayer beads, and it was almost like the same like in Islam, when you go like subhanallah, alhamdulillah, Allahu akbar, when you're counting the beads and counting like what's that called again, like tafakul, I think. It's just like a reminder of Allah when you're just thinking about it. It's like the same thing, like
zikr,
that,
like zikr. It's like doing zikr.
Oh yeah. That's the word, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Sorry, I forgot about that.
No problem. Yeah. I mean, a lot of religions have the beads also. Even for Catholics, they call it the rosary. But yeah, they would say their prayers for that. Yeah. So I didn't know Buddhists have. So now I learned something new today. Yeah. Okay. So wait, before we carry on with this, let's look at some of the comments. Okay.
Sure.
Okay, we have some people from Turkey. Hello. And also people who are wishing us assalamualaikum. So walaikum salam to everyone. What else? A lot of heart shapes, a lot of love. Thank you guys. Yeah. People from where is this? I thought I saw Philippines. Okay. Well, my friend here, Ashairu, is also online. Singaporean. Yeah. Sabah. So some from Malaysia as well. Sabah, Malaysia. Where else? Okay, so USA, from the USA. Wow, amazing. Where else? Okay, let me see. So we have some people with different parts of the world. Yeah, that's all we see. Hey, something. Oh, Thailand. We have people from Thailand too. And
We're so international.
yeah,
Very
we're so
cool.
international. Yeah. Thank God for this platform to share
Yeah.
all this. Somebody's asking, do you have any siblings?
Oh yeah, I have one younger sister.
Ah,
Mhm.
okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you became a Muslim, what was your parents' reaction and your siblings to like? Okay, wait, before we go there, okay, you haven't described what is so beautiful about Islam that make you want to be a Muslim. I mean, like people can just say, okay, let's just do the sujud and let's not do the rest, right? And
Yeah.
oh yeah, but what made you bravely take that step to make this decision?
Honestly, I believe that like before I didn't understand when people say for example, like, oh, I can't drink because I'm religious, or I can't eat pork because I'm religious. I'm like, why? Like, you can still do that. Like, who's stopping you? But it's the same thing as like a relationship. Let's say you're committed to someone, and then someone else comes along and says, hey, let's go do something. Let's go biking together. Let's go hiking together. You would say thanks, but like, I'm not interested in that way because I already have like committed myself to a different purpose, right? It's the same with Islam. So in the sense that once you become like, you find so much love and so much compassion with the way that you're able to open up to God, in the same way that you're opening up to, like, I don't know, even closer than a close friend. There's nothing much like it. Like, I can't, you know, when people like compare like opening up to Allah, like opening up to a close friend. Like for me, I honestly think it's a little bit even beyond that. Like I think like when you make dua and stuff, you're like, you know, you're like tears are running down your face, and you're like, oh my God, like, you know, all these different things I did. Like I know this was wrong, but please help me. Like, you know, I'll try to be better. I'm sorry if I mess up again. Like these are the things that like some people might not even say to their partner, because of like, we live in a world where there's always barriers, right? There's always like personal space and personal things that we should say to one another, and what we should keep up within ourselves. But how much can you really keep within yourself? Before like God, I would have diaries. I've written so many diaries where I would kind of like rant about my feelings and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh my God, today was a good day, or like, you know, today was boring day, or like, you know, make it easy for me, you know, like, but like having Allah just like knows that everything is for a greater purpose. It's kind of like your personal diary, but even better, because you know this personal diary cares for you, and is, I don't know, it will reciprocate anything that you kind of ask for. There's a saying that I read somewhere that if you ask Allah for anything, the answer is always yes. It's either yes right away, or yes, but not right now, or yes, I have something better for you. Just wait, just be patient, and eventually, there will be like a lesson and a growing for you. It's important for you to like go through this growth, and sometimes like what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So going through like,
And
hardships and with Allah,
to add on to that point,
Mhm.
sometimes Allah gives by taking away and takes by giving away. Does that make sense? Did I say something right? Yeah. Like he gives you, but it's actually taking it something away. And when it takes away something, it's actually giving you something. So, for example, you know, you might have a lot of money. You ask for money, right? And he knows that your heart is actually not focusing on him. That you actually love money more. And so he grants you money only for you to go further away from him. And that is not a good thing. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, so it's not a blessing. It's actually a punishment in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
But sometimes he takes away something, like maybe a loved one, only so that you can, you know, come to him closer and ask him for help. Yeah.
Yeah.
So sometimes he gives by taking and takes by giving. Okay, carry on. Sorry. Yeah.
No, that was really deep. That was such a good point.
Yeah. Yeah. Carry on with the story. Yes.
Um,
Sorry. Did
it's okay. Wait,
I
let me
train of
let me
thoughts?
try to think what I was trying to say. So,
Yeah, you're saying something about um your relationship with God.
mhm. Yeah. So, oh my God, I see the comments. It says, "Ooh, Rusiology, you're like a bullet train, trying to catch up with tiring but managing." Okay, maybe I should speak slower. I'm really sorry. I have a habit of speaking too
No,
fast.
it's okay. It's okay. Sometimes
Mhm.
people need fast people to talk. So that,
Okay,
you know,
true.
they sound
Yeah,
like we sound like old people sometimes. Me and Elias, because we're taking our time to speak.
it's okay.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, so one of the most beautiful things about Islam is that you have someone to open up to, even when you think you don't have anyone else to open up to. If you don't have anyone else to open up to, you can write a diary. You can, you know, talk to your friends. You can talk to your partner. But what about the situation where your friends are busy? Like in this case where when I was younger, I was dependent on other people because I couldn't get that from my parents, right? They're like immigrants. I can't just tell them like, you know, anything I was feeling, any stress I was feeling. I can't just tell them. They won't take me seriously because they won't understand. They'll just say, go study or something, you know? So like, you know, so I kind of depended on my friends to kind of be there for me. But I realized like I can't depend on anyone else, and sometimes I still kind of do that. I think sometimes like I kind of depend on talking to someone or something to make me feel better. But of course, human beings, we all need human interactions in order to be, you know, somewhat satisfied with life, especially during quarantine, because it can definitely get really lonely. But like having God there is like when you're kind of like at your most stressful part, talking it out loud when you're sitting there kneeling on like the prayer mat, asking Allah for like all these things and telling Allah about all these things, even though He knows what you're going through, just you confessing it and we're like explaining it helps you as well, helps you organize your thoughts, organize like these rationalities, and to be able to kind of take your mind on a spiritual walk. There is this saying by like a philosopher about it is solved by walking. So if anything, every time you have a problem, just walk it out. It is solved by walking. So basically, literally, if you just take on a walk outside, you come back to the situation less stressed than before. Let's say you're at your computer, you're stuck on an assignment, or like stuck at something at work. You can't figure this problem out. Your coworkers are annoying and stuff like that. Then go on a walk and refresh your brain. So when you come back and sit down, you're able to have a clear mind. So it's the same thing when you go down and you pray to Allah. You're taking your mind on a walk, on a spiritual walk with Allah. So at the end, after your prayer, you're like, I realize my problem is actually tolerable. This actually is okay. And after all, it's not the end of the world. I'm still alive right now. And what can I do about that, you know? And
Okay,
yeah.
so you feel that when you ask for Allah things, you feel that He hears you and you have this connection with Him through Islam. Is that why it's so beautiful to you?
Oh, wait, could you repeat that?
It's like you develop a relationship with Allah when you ask Him for things, and you feel that He's actually listening to you, and that's one of the beauties of Islam that attracted you to be a Muslim.
Yeah, for sure. But what I'm asking for is not necessarily to gain more in like, I don't know, material. Most of the time I ask Allah to let me have a good life, to like make me more wise, or like to increase me in knowledge so that I understand why this is happening. Increase me in knowledge so that I don't stay hurt, or I don't stay annoyed, I don't stay like in this state of mind. Increase my knowledge so I kind of grow beyond this. That's kind of what I'm asking for. Is not necessarily just like, oh, I would like this, and then boom, Allah grants it like a magic genie, and I'm like, oh, like suddenly I have this. That's awesome. I'm more Muslim now. I don't think anyone works like that. I think everyone just wants to kind of understand themselves and the world more, in the sense like that Allah can like provide for them in that way.
I see. And other religions that you explored couldn't give you that kind of connection.
Yeah, honestly, I couldn't find too much of it with, I'm sure like at the base, like if you really like strip down all the layers of religion to kind of their main core, they all have the same beliefs of like doing good for other people, doing good for yourself. No religion will tell you to do something that's bad for you. No religion will tell you to go out and like, I don't know, like punch a kitten. Like they won't tell you to do something that's like immoral and not fair. But like what is really deep for me about Islam is like thinking about how everything in the world has, I don't know, like a creator. Like every painting has a painter, every book has an author. And so, yeah, so everything in the world has a creator. Scientifically, I kind of thought of it as a big bang, right? As like everything comes into creation by like atomically, by its levels of like positive and negative, like charges and everything. Even if you look at magnets and stuff like that, we are made in pairs. You know how magnets attract, and how there's positive matter and negative matter in the world. And you know, we have two limbs, like our faces are like symmetrical, like I have two like glasses, you know, we all like we everything is made in pairs, like in the sense, I don't know if that makes sense, but still we have one creator. And I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah,
yeah.
it's called the designer, the thinking. Okay, the thought of. I mean, there are many ways that attract people to Islam, and one of the ways is to see the king of designers, like the designer of everything, and that is the creator, and that's why they realize that nothing comes from nothing. You can't create. Like, there's nothing that can come from nothing. Yeah, even the bank has to come. Somebody have to cause the bank.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, I think one of the main reasons why I didn't believe in religion at first is because I actually believed like the personification of it. Like ever since I was little, I'm like, how can there be a man up in the sky? That doesn't make sense to me. Because people are like, oh, like, you know, there's a man in the sky. But like every time I imagined it, like, you know, from what people told me, they just did I really think I could not grasp the idea that there was just like this like old guy with a white beard chilling on the clouds. Like I'm like, how's that possible? That's physically impossible. Human beings cannot be that way. Like that's not, humans can't do that. And the problem is, one of the problem is, if you really think about it, it's idolatry. People paint God, right? People draw God to be a certain way. You see drawings of like prophets. You see drawings of God, even though there's not supposed to be actual any drawings of God. And this is the problem where like, how can we really believe this painting to be God, or like this thing to be God? How can we imagine a man in the sky? And only with Islam, I kind of realized what they're trying to teach is not, there's no man in the sky. That is so like human centric to think, imagining that human beings are the most powerful force, imagining that God looks like a human being. Like that's so like speciesist too. Like, why do we think we're above like mosquitoes? Like maybe mosquitoes are just as valuable, like says, I'm not saying God is the shape of a mosquito. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is, like, how do we know that like it's just a white guy in the sky? Like this not right. And like that's like another thing I had to like help me understand better, because if I understand things in terms of energies rather than like forces that we can understand, rather than try to understand something we can understand, it helps me understand it better. So I'm just happier knowing that it's not something I can imagine. It's like when people tell you to imagine a color you've never seen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You see, let me add on to your point. Okay. See, people always try to limit the power of God. Okay. So that it's easier for them to understand, to fit in their minds, like who God is. Right. But okay, spoke to Elias about this. We have 5 senses. They're all limited, right? You can only see a certain, peripheral can only be about less than 180 degrees, taste as well, and hearing have a certain decibel you can't hear. So we cannot use something that is finite to measure something infinite. Okay, we wouldn't want a God that is finite, right? I mean, if a God is finite, means a God can be controlled, because that God has certain things that you can, work around him to control him, because he's finite. There's limitations to it. But if an all-powerful and almighty God has no boundaries at all, it's all powerful, right? So in that sense, we cannot use something limited to measure him. That's why you cannot see him in that sense.
yeah,
That makes a lot of sense, right? That's why we can't even stare at the sun for like more than 15 seconds. Maybe our eyes start to hurt. Yeah, how can we see God? Right? So some people are curious, like how do you pray when you can't see God, right? And Muslims have been doing it for years
yeah.
without
I think
looking
if
at.
we saw God, we would not be praying to God, because that would mean the shape of God is finite. There's like a limit to how big or small God is, and
Yeah,
that cannot be like described.
he's not limited by physical attributes, like how we have shapes and everything. They're all defined by geometry or something, right? Yeah, but God is not defined by any of those because he created them. Yeah. Yeah. So how did your family react to your reversion? Can you tell me that day
Yeah.
when you want to revert, what do you do or where you go?
Oh, yeah. So, oh my God, sorry. I realized you asked this before, but I forgot to actually answer. I kind of just rambled about like my family, like my mom, like growing up in a village and stuff like that. So sorry about that. But I told them at first as a joke. Like I sent them a Facebook message. Like, I was in Toronto. I was chilling in my bedroom. And I'm like, oh my God, what if I just tell them like I'm Muslim now? I wonder what they'll say. So I sent them a text on Facebook message. They're like all the way in Ottawa. So I can't just like go over and be like, hey, like what's up? So yeah, I'm like, yeah, so I'm gonna be Muslim. And I put like a laughy emoji, like the laughing emoji,
Yeah.
and I'm Muslim. And then they're like, I don't know, I think my mom just like says something like Rusi, like like something in Chinese, like stop being like that, like stop being weird, like and, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just kidding. She's like, good, like like she's like, oh, you kids, like all you do is like joke about weird stuff like that.
Give parents heart attack.
Yeah, like because the thing is, they believe like what the media tells them, right? Like there's so many times when I was younger, my mom's like, okay, you can marry anybody except someone who is dark skinned or someone who is Muslim. Like they, that typical like Chinese mindset. Like it's kind of like racist, but like this is how they grew up. What their parents taught them. What their parents. Generational like close-mindedness. That's what I can say. So yeah, it's like she's like, oh, and they should have money, and he should be a doctor or like lawyer. Typical like Chinese mom. Like okay, like I'm not gonna like care about anything like that. Like I like who I like, but one of the main things she stressed about is like don't marry someone Muslim or else like something bad is gonna happen. It's like they hear these stories that like oh like a Muslim man will always force a woman to wear hijab. Like nobody forced me to wear hijab. Like nobody forced me, you know.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, and in the beginning, at first I was like, I'm not gonna wear a hijab, and you know, my friend who like kind of like inspired me to be Muslim, and he's like, yeah, like you don't have to, like no one's telling you to. Oh, fun fact, like that friend who like kind of introduced me to Islam when we were not that serious about taking the religion that serious, we became so much stronger in faith, you know. So sometimes like yeah, oh my god, my bird just knocked something on my computer. That's okay. Yeah, like we become so much like stronger in the face, so much better now. So in the beginning, my parents like that's bad, and because they kind of don't understand why somebody would first of all like you know wear hijab, and my mom also tried to like fight against me, and she's like, how can you follow a religion where men have like 4 wives? Like how can you deal with that? What are you gonna do once you grow up and you're gonna marry a Muslim man and then he's gonna have like 3 other wives? How are you gonna deal with that? And I know she's looking out for the best of me. She doesn't have any ill intentions against Islam, but rather she wants to keep me safe from like any harm that she hears on the media, like oh man forces a woman to wear hijab. If that's the only you know exposure of Islam that she gets, and then to imagine that her daughter goes off and wears a hijab, it's probably just a big shock, like oh my god, it's falling into exactly the same trap, you know. And once
So
like I said, yeah, like
how did
once
you answer them? How did you answer them?
I try to explain to them like my dad understands though because he comes from like kind of like Buddhist background, so he kind of like more aware that I believe in something that's infinite, you know, like because God cannot be proven nor disproven by like the eyes itself. He's okay with that concept basically, but he just doesn't want me to practice it to any level that can be limiting for my job. And they also ask like, how are you going to get a job with hijab? Like you're going to work in the entertainment industry, like in the film industry, you know, how many hijabi Muslim Chinese reavers are there in the film industry? Like bare none, you know, like they're not here, right? Like doing all that stuff. Like typically when you think of like, you know, typical Muslim girl, they're not usually in film or even things like that. Like society has always painted it kind of like in a different way, but that's also due to cultural barriers and problems of like poverty and stuff like that. So if people think like, oh, Islam is so this, also consider the fact that many people who follow Islam are not from a first world country, and that is kind of like the reason why they struggle with certain things that they do. And it's not because they're like worse people, but also the fact that like, you know, there's more like poverty and like teen pregnancy rates in like places with less education. But that is a whole poverty, political and cultural issue and has nothing to do with actually what Islam really teaches. So I think that's where people kind of get confused about what
Well,
Islam is.
there's actually a lot of there's a golden age of Islam once, and
Mm-hmm.
that's in Spain. You can go and check that in history. And that was the first world country at that point of time. Knowledge was shared around between different religions. The monotheistic religions like Judaism, Christianity, and Islam could live in peace in Spain, and they were flourishing so well. They have a lot of science developed at that time, and that was the golden age of Islam at one point. Um, well, it's just that the media is just being microscopic. They're just showing you the parts that are exciting to show on the news.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if
And
you show a professor who's a Muslim, right, who's researching on virology, for example, yeah, it's like okay, he's just a professor, right? That's what they're gonna think, and just like any other professor they see. But if we were to look at all the inventions of Muslims that Muslims made, like even coffee or even the gown that you wear for your graduation, yeah, university education also came from an invention of the Muslims. Yeah.
yeah, I've heard that. I also like there's a series on YouTube called, I'm not sure what it's called, but it's by Yaqeen Institute, and the speaker is Dr. Rania Awad, and she talks about how in like Islam's golden age, Islam has discovered talk therapy, or otherwise known as CBT today, or cognitive behavioral therapy, the type where you talk to a therapist and you kind of feel better afterwards through like a processing by speaking. this process and everything, and also holistic integration, meaning that like involving other elements of health and wellness like dua, prayer, dhikr, and even like like certain type of foods and stuff like that, and herbs and ailments and stuff to treat yourself, were discovered like by the Muslims in the golden age. Like nowadays there's like a huge problem between, I guess, like culture and what the religion actually teaches. For example, like I know that some Muslim families, I've heard that their parents are not very much into mental health, which I understand. Mental health is a very, very new type of concept that only arose, like got a lot of popular nowadays with terms like self-care and stuff. But like even my Asian parents, if I tell them like they should go check out a therapist, they'll be like, "What's wrong with you? Why are you going to see a therapist? Like 你有病吗? Like like do you have a sickness? Like what's wrong with you? Why are you seeing a therapist?" But the thing is, back then in Islam's golden age, they actually did therapy. They literally knew about how the brain worked and how like if somebody was feeling unwell, that they should talk about it instead of avoiding the situation. But even at like now, some like Muslim families, the parents like tell their kids like, "Oh, like you're just depressed because you're on your phone too much. Go make dua," or like just go pray. Like you're on your phone too much, or something like that. This happens not just in Muslim families, but also like families of youths like all over the world. Because they don't have a good grasp on things like mental health. And if only we actually retained or like looked more at the for example, Islamic scholars back then of the Islam's golden age, look at how they dealt with situations. But people also say, well, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, never had a therapist, so why should we as Muslims have therapists? But also keep in mind that Prophet had so many of his companions that he could talk to. He also had guidance from Allah, and also his companions were also the ones who were able to talk about their problems like openly and stuff like that. So we should really look back at how it should have been done instead of believing that our cultures are kind of like the boxes that are what Islam is actually about.
Okay. So I think we digressed a bit. How did your parents react when you?
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, so they reacted. They were not happy with it, and
Okay.
yeah, but eventually, like at first, they were not okay seeing me with a hijab. They're like, "Who did this to you?" And then over time, they realized like, okay, like she's fine. She can be like that. I think they still have a little bit of problem with it, but since I don't see them every day, it's not too much of an issue. But I think it's one of the things that they'll learn to eventually accept it. They're much more okay with it now. They're like much more okay. And to be honest, even though my mom was like the one who was mostly against me, changing, like becoming this different person that she no longer knew. That's what she thought. She realized like after I became Muslim, even though like I'm exactly the same person, and even better, she actually noticed. She actually said, at one point, she's like, Rusi, like, not gonna lie, honestly, I do see a difference. I do see a difference, and that's what I was like. I was actually surprised that she actually saw that I was changing from before when I was used to be like, I don't know, I guess a problematic teenager, even, and then changing slowly. Because I used to, for example, my sister, I used to be kind of so mean to my sister because I was like insecure with myself. So I would kind of like be annoying with my sister and be really bossy towards her. If she was on the phone too much, whatever, I'd be like, turn off your phone, like it's bad for your eyes and you're gonna get like glasses if you use it too much and stuff. And I would kind of like boss her around and stuff. And then sometimes she would ask to play with me when she was younger, and I'll be like, no, like I want to play with my friends. I don't want to talk to you. Like you do your kid stuff, like I do my stuff. Like space and stuff. But now like even my sister said like I've changed so much. Like I'm actually calling her now. I'm actually helping her now. And nowadays my sister like calls me, to sends me memes and to talk about her problems at school and how like everything that she's going through. And now I'm finally like to be able to be there for her. And I couldn't do that before. Like I just couldn't, because I didn't have the mental capacity when I was younger. And even after discovering Islam, like I had to learn that myself. And Islam really gives you a kind of reflection to kind of like kickstart your life into realizing this is actually who I want to be. So why don't I just go towards working to who I actually want to be for other people? And then so my parents actually did see a change within me. So that's ultimately they're okay with it now. So I know they'll be more okay with it in the future as time goes on.
Keep going on to be nice to your parents and kind to them. Yeah. Inshallah, their heart will melt more, seeing how much their daughter has changed to be a much better one.
Yeah.
In fact, that's encouraged by the Prophet also, peace be upon him, by the way. Yeah. Okay, I'm looking at some of the comments. Okay. Some are from Holland also. You got friends from Holland, friends from Somalia, friends from Caribbean. Wow. I think there's a lot of people who tuning in. Thank you guys for tuning in today. Yeah. Do you any of you have questions for her? Yeah.
I have a
Can
question.
can
I have a few. I have a few. I have a few
Oh, okay.
questions.
Yes. Yeah, you've been quiet the whole time. I just realized. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes. Go ahead.
So actually, I have a few questions. Because just wanted to know more about your story. So how has it been since like living in Canada, right? Like how has your experience been as a Muslim? Has it been different? And also, I believe this is your first Ramadan, right? And how has your experience been like
Yeah.
so far?
It's actually my second Ramadan. My last
Oh,
Ramadan was in like my old residence, but it was also in quarantine, so I also didn't really receive the Ramadan, the full experience yet. But I look forward to it. Inshallah, one day I will have iftar with human beings, and that'll be really fun. And
Oh. You have a parrot to have iftar with.
yeah, like my parents eating iftar right now. Like my shirt breaking fast by eating my shirt. Uh, so wait, sorry, what was your question again?
like how has your experience been living as a Muslim in Canada? Like, were there any challenges or like
Right.
any good things that you like or don't like?
Honestly, okay. There's that question is I'm thankfully I can say that I can answer for myself that living where I am right now in Toronto, a very like multicultural, diverse city. There's a lot of Muslims in my area. Like every time I go to the grocery store, I see like people wearing hijabs. I see a lot of like Muslim people around my area, which is very good. But that question of Canada is so big. Like if you look at Canada, is so big. Depending on where you live in Canada, your experience can be totally different. If I was Muslim in Quebec, or certain small towns in Quebec, that would be a different story because even though there are Muslims in Quebec, but the thing is they also have something called Bill 21, I think, or Bill C 21 or 31. I'm not sure what it's called, but there's a hijab ban in Quebec that
Oh,
says you're not allowed to wear hijab in like positions of power, for example, a teacher or a police officer. I might be wrong about maybe the teacher or police officer part, but I know that religious garment is kind of restricted to indoor use. Like keep religion at your home, please. Like that's what the Quebec like people are trying to enforce basically, and it can be completely different experience there. But alhamdulillah, my experience has been overall pretty good. There's I actually noticed something that's really interesting. Like before wearing hijab, I would just, kind of be outed as Chinese person. So my neighborhood, I live downtown, right? And Toronto has like a homeless situation. So there's a lot of like homeless people who are less fortunate. Unfortunately, like these kind of situations give people like terrible living conditions where they might spiral down in mental health over the years. They may develop like drinking problems. So there's a lot of people who have like issues in downtown Toronto. You can tell they're not really friendly, and they'll make a mean remark at you if you're just walking by them. And so
wow.
like sometimes I would be like outed for being Chinese, and they'll like go back to your country, or like go like you started COVID, or they'll say like coronavirus. They'll be like coronavirus or something that you know what I mean, like or like just like microaggressions, like tiny bits of racism, like sprinkled throughout their conversation and stuff. But that is just like the occasional people. Like overall, I've been received like with a lot of respect, and those are just the occasional people. Like, but they were still kind of annoying. But when I did wear like the hijab, people did not say that anymore because sometimes they would look at me and they don't say anything because they can't tell where I'm from, which is actually another
Uh,
funny thing. Like they can't tell I'm Chinese, so they can't tell me coronavirus. They can't be like go back to your country. They don't know what country I'm from. So like,
They
where do you
just
want me
keep
to
right.
go? So that's actually a
Yeah.
thing that I noticed. I've been getting less comments and less stares like outside also. And one of the things like I said in one of my videos before, wearing the hijab is like invisibility cloak, where like Harry Potter puts it on, nobody sees you anymore. They kind of just look past you. They don't make eye contact with you when you're walking by.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
quite sad,
I
right?
think
You
that's
can't say
true.
hi. Maybe you should just say good morning or hi.
Maybe I should, but honestly, sometimes I don't want to talk to people because I don't know. I just always have a suspicious feeling when someone like wants to talk to me. Like, what do they want? But yeah, sometimes it's generally nice, and I can tell that. But when it's like I don't know, like a much older man talking to me, I don't know. I just like feeling like I don't know. I feel like just one of those Toronto people. I don't know how to describe Toronto people, but you have to be here to understand what I mean by like the homeless situation here.
Inshallah, one day we get to travel there.
Yeah. There's a
Elias, anymore?
question. Oh, sorry, continue.
Sorry.
No,
Okay.
just curious, talking about like people talking to you, right? Like I think that time you mentioned before, like after you shared your story, there's a lot of guys that are sending you message to get for marriage proposal. Is it still happening?
Yeah, that's actually so funny. Yeah, sometimes like it's actually like died down a little bit because in the beginning when I posted that revert video, a bigger page, I think it's called Muslim Convert Stories or Muslim Revert Stories,
Yeah.
reposted my video, and that's where it kind of like blew up for a little while, for like a week. I've been just getting a lot of like DMs. I could never see my DMs, like literally every 10 minutes, like a few new people DM me, and a lot of them are really kind comments, and it honestly encourages me so much. Like I wouldn't be where I am today if I did not read through the comments and stuff. And sometimes like there's a lot, so I just have to double tap it. I can't reply to every single one because of how much there are, but like I kind of do try my best like to like see it at least once. But sometimes like I get marriage proposals, and sometimes they're like well-meaning people, and other times they're just kind of like confused people, and some of them they want a green card, like they want to come to Canada. They're like how can you get me to Canada? I'm like, I don't know, like I'm sorry, I don't think I can do that for you. You know, people see opportunity everywhere, I guess.
Yeah. All right.
Wow.
Oh.
So, quite interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, okay, people have been asking about your YouTube channel. Okay, once again, I repeat, her YouTube channel is the name of her name tag on the screen right now. You can just go to YouTube and type it out, and you'll go get to her channel. Yeah. Yeah. Reisiology. Wow, that's cool. Yeah. So do you have any hobbies? Anything you like? Like what do you do?
I have so many hobbies. One sec, let me just pull them up. Okay, so this is okay. I've been recently starting like embroidery stuff. So like I got a machine and I'm making like I didn't draw it or anything, but my machine just did it. But sometimes I have to edit the designs. Wait, one sec. Let me show you like a painting or something I did. Okay, so here's like I do painting and stuff. So
Wow.
yeah.
You know that picture, the thumbnail of you holding out your painting?
Yeah.
I wanted to write like the 10 Commandments by Reisiology.
Wait, sorry, what? I didn't hear what you said.
The Reisi's 10 Commandments. You know, you held it like a tablet. That the picture of you when you hold the painting up, you know, the thumbnail on our broadcast. Yeah, it looks like you're holding up a tablet, the 10 Commandments. You know,
Really?
the tablet.
Like this?
Yeah, you were holding it in a manner like, you know, like you are holding it like Moses holding up the tablet.
Oh, true.
The
Yeah, it's just like a painting. It's like oil. This one took a long time.
Nice.
I'm actually not that happy with it because it's
I mean, like just looking at it from, you know, the camera here, it really looks so good. I believe it looks so much more detailed when you see it in person, you know.
Really? Okay, that's cool.
Yeah,
I'm glad you like it.
really nice.
I think I might add some like a thunder clouds like here, like a thunder strike of lightning or something. So I kind of make it pop. But it's getting like dusty though, not gonna lie. It's getting kind of dusty.
That's beautiful. Hey, you should put it up online, see if people want to buy it, you know, they can buy it from you.
You should sell it.
Maybe I should sell it, but I don't know. I'm not sure where. I'm so busy right now because I'm trying to like make embroidery like stuff like that as well, and trying to like balance YouTube and all that different stuff. So like one day I'll sell my paintings, maybe sometime in the future. If I find a way how to.
You try painting a parrot maybe.
Oh, I have. 1 second. I actually don't know where the painting went, but like, yeah, I actually painted my parrot before, but the bird just tried to eat it, so it's not very appreciated.
Okay. Well, they asked you to sell it on Instagram.
Okay, if someone is willing to pay shipping and stuff, I would actually like sell it. So like, let me know.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, there's actually a question. Like someone asked you, like, did you lose any friends after you became a Muslim?
I didn't like lose any friends, but there's definitely some friends I don't talk to as much as before. Whether that's because I moved away from like my original like city, Ottawa, to Toronto, or it's because I reverted, I'm not too sure. But if for example, you had friends that you did like, I don't know, haram things with, like for example, and you no longer want to do them, there might be like situations where you kind of like drift away from them and drift away from like talking about similar common interests. If they're like, hey, like let's go clubbing tonight, and you're like, sorry, I can't. Like I can't now. And they're like, why not? Like, it's the same conversation as before, where where if people are like, well, like it doesn't matter, like you can still do it, like you can still drink, like why can't you? Like no one's telling you can't. But the thing is that it's just I don't really feel like it anymore. And like in that kind of sense, you might lose some like people that you do that kind of activities with. But honestly, the people who have been there with you since day one are still going to be your friend. You might just like have different activities that you do together now than before, but like still they're still going to be your friend, because you're friends with someone not just to like I don't know, smoke weed with them. Like that's not the reason you're friends with someone. You're friends with someone just because you like who they are and you support them and they support you, and that's what friends are. So inshallah, you won't lose any real friends.
Yeah, I mean, like it's okay if people along the way they don't see the eye to eye to certain things that you just embrace. Sometimes it's normal, it's fine. I guess everybody have their own path to walk. I mean, they say, right, when we die alone. We don't die with all our friends. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, so but I mean, there are of course special people in your heart, and we keep them close to our heart. I guess they are alive in our hearts and our minds always.
Yeah. There's a question that says, how has been finding halal foods in Canada? There's so much, like you won't have any struggle depending where you are. Like if you're talking about like the Newfoundlands or like the weird islands on the side of Canada, like probably you won't find like Muslim people there, or not much. But like if you go to downtown Toronto, don't worry about it. Like there's in the grocery store that I go to, there's literally a whole entire fridge aisle called halal. So that's because there's so many Muslims in my area and Toronto as well.
I think you can even eat kosher food. Yeah, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can also be like a vegetarian too,
Yeah.
like that's an option too.
Yeah. All right. So we hit the 1 hour mark. I guess anybody have any no she's not the only child, she has a sister. Okay. Anybody have any other questions? Just to give you a heads up, okay. The coming 2 days, in 2 days time, we'll be inviting another revert. He's much older. Okay, his name is Dondi from Indonesia. Okay, brother Dondi Tan, I think that's his last name, and he'll be sharing with us some knowledge on what is God's personal name. That's quite interesting. Right? God actually revealed his personal name. Wow. Okay, so quite curious to know that as well. Yeah. So back to Ruisiology.
I have one more question.
Yeah, Elias.
Just last question. Like, are there a lot of mosques over there? And also, like, do the mosque, can you hear the call to prayer? Like, is it out loud?
I don't think, like, actually, I don't know, because, like, okay, it's been COVID for so long. I don't even know what it's like to go outside. Like, no, I mean, I go outside and stuff, but I haven't heard any, like, call to prayers at masjids or anything in Canada. But there might be some places that might play something. But there is quite a few, like, mosques and stuff, especially if you live, like, in a big place. Like, if you live in a city. So you don't have anything to worry about if you're, like, in a big city. But, like, in smaller areas, there might not be. It really depends where you live in, like, Canada, because Canada is like as big as the States.
Yeah, the only time I went to Canada was when I was 6 years old, I think. That was because my aunt lives in Canada. She married a Canadian, and I visited her farm when I was much younger. I love it so much. It was just after winter, but I'm like shivering cold. Canada can be very cold. So, and I always wanted to go back to Canada just for a holiday again. Inshallah, when COVID-19 is over, I want to go there. Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Okay. Is anyone else in your family reverted, or is it just you?
No, right? It's only me. Like, I don't have any other family in Canada. Everyone else is in China. Honestly, I don't really notice. I haven't talked to anyone in my family for a long, long time, other than my parents and my sister in Canada, because like when they immigrated here, they were the only ones in their entire family lineage to kind of like leave. So I'm first generation in Canada, and my sister is like, I guess, like second generation because she was born here. But we haven't ever been back to China because, like, at first it's because of like financial issues, like too expensive to go back, and then now it's just because of like, well, COVID. They were actually about to like go this year, but they couldn't. So it's been a long time that they've been in Canada, haven't gone back, and they kind of like don't talk that much to their family back home. So I actually don't know the names of my grandparents, or I don't know the names of my cousins, or I don't know how many cousins I have. I just know I have cousins. I know I have a guy cousin and a girl cousin. I don't know who else there are, or uncles and aunts. I don't know their names and stuff because my parents have never like told me that aspect. So that's like one element of like family that I guess I'm kind of like lacking from my life, because I know like on my, I don't know, wedding or whatever, marriage, people have like big marriages. I don't really have like the whole family. So I think that's another reason why I kind of stuck to trying to be close to like different friends, because I try to seeing friends as family, because I didn't have like a tight connection with like a family, like a big one. I have my parents, and that's like kind of like I realize that's fine with me, and I don't know really what it's like to have like extended family. So I guess I'm cool with that. And
Yeah,
yeah, I
because
have
you're
other Weavers.
quite independent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. So thank you so much again. We appreciate for you coming up live today with us. Yeah. So for everyone to know, okay, our live session, why it's an hour long, it's mainly because there are a lot of new reverts, and they're probably spending their iftar alone at home, and maybe hearing these stories from other reverts and sharing of knowledge from Islam, they feel a bit more closer to that people are going through this together with them. Yeah, that's why it's an hour long. But well, I mean, this is not going to be forever.
Mm-hmm.
Only this is a Ramadan series, right? Afterwards, we might have other live sessions which are shorter and personal videos that I do upload on my own channel. Yeah. Okay. Also, with greetings from Libya, we have greetings from Brunei as well. Yeah. And thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. We shall see you again in 2 days' time.
Oh wait, I have one other advice. For any reverts like watching this and listening to this, don't worry and don't think that you're the only one, or don't think that you're just alone. Because if you think about the very first Muslims that like reverted, the very first companions of the Prophet, they were also like like alone in the
Reverts.
journey. But it's okay to be alone, because if you bear it through, you will find like abundance in it everywhere you go, and you won't be alone for too long once COVID is done, inshallah.
Inshallah. And do stay connected with the Quran, everyone. And you're not alone. You never walk alone. Liverpool. Okay. and and ladies and gentlemen, we thank you guys for tuning in today to the broadcast. So any last surah you want to give, Visil? You have anything you like from the Quran? You want to share?
One second, let me think. Okay. Okay. Do you know Al Asr, like by time? So it's like Wal Asr, like Innal Insana Lafi Khusr. Okay, my Arabic is so
Yeah,
like
that's good. That's good. That's
horrendous.
good.
Okay.
You're doing a good
إِلَّا
job.
الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ, which just means like by time mankind is in loss. Only unless if you have like you've done righteous deeds and you follow the right way. By loss, it means like emotional loss. By time, whether it's by tomorrow, by today, or even in a few years, you're going to be in loss, whether that's financially. Your money will come and go. You will always, at one point in your life, if life is kind of like a graph, a sine wave, or like a stock graph, at one point you will experience a dip. By time, mankind will be lost. But as long as you can kind of come back and be able to kind of find that flow again and find your purpose, then by time, like it's okay to be lost, because as long as that lostness leads you somewhere.
Okay, great. Okay, we usually end our broadcast with Tasbih Fakara and Suratul Asr. So today we shall get you to recite Suratul Asr, like how you recited just now. Just start with Bismillah.
Okay.
Yeah. But
One second,
before
let
you
me get
go,
my mic.
Ilyas will do the Tasbih Fakara first, and you can come in with your Suratul Asr. Okay, go Ilyas.
Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika asyhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik.
Do I
Okay.
say Al Asr?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, you can go.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Oh wait, sorry. Wait, did I say right? Yeah, okay. And then it's like
Yes.
wal asr innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilus salihati wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, we got a quick question here. Are you sure it's okay to eat kosher? Yeah, because the monotheistic religion don't believe in The Jews also believe in one God. Yeah, according to my ustad. Anyway, he'll be tuning in soon, and you can ask him that question, inshallah. Okay, so thanks guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, mashallah, beautiful recitation. Good night.
Bye.
What's
Bye,
your bird?
everyone.
It's your bird.
Yeah, my bird was on camera. It's gone now.
Awesome. Bye.
Bye.